If you think building a team culture with remote salespeople is impossible, you're doing it wrong. I've been obsessed with this problem for years right now, and the question I was always trying to ask is, how do you create a real connection and a team culture when you cannot look people in the eye and shake their hands? So today I'm going to show you exactly how to build a high-performing team culture with a remote sales teams and why video calls are non-negotiable and the specific rituals that actually create team bonding when everybody works from home. Now, let me start by saying why I'm so obsessed with this topic. I've always run online-based businesses. My teams are remote, my closers are remote, my appointment setters are remote. Everybody works from their own locations, often in different time zones. And early on, years ago, I made the mistake of thinking that culture didn't matter as much for remote teams. I thought as long as people hit their numbers, everything else would take care of itself, right? Wrong. What I learned was that without intentional culture building, remote sales teams do fall apart. People, they feel isolated. They don't feel connected to the mission. They don't trust their teammates. And when things get tough, which they eventually will, they have no loyalty to the organization because they never felt part of something bigger than themselves in the first place. Now, the challenge with remote culture is that all the traditional ways of building it doesn't work. You cannot have spontaneous hallway conversations. You cannot go grab a coffee or lunch together. You cannot read somebody's body language across the room and know when they are struggling. You cannot look each other in the eye and shake hands. All the human connection that happens naturally in an office has to be intentionally created when you're remote. However, most business owners either ignore this completely and wonder why the remote team has high turnover, or they try to replicate office culture virtually and it feels, well, forced and awkward, right? Now, the key is understanding that remote culture isn't worse than in-person culture. It's different. And if you build it intentionally with the right systems, it can actually be stronger because everybody's there by choice, not because they have to show up to an office. But if you want or have to be intentional about it, culture doesn't happen by accident when people are remote. Now, the first fundamental rule of remote culture is this: video calls are non-negotiable. Phone calls are just not enough. Here's why this happens so much, and I've actually fired reps because of this. They wouldn't want to turn on their camera for what reason. I literally have fired reps on the spot because of this. Now, here's the reason for this. Human beings are visual creatures. We communicate with facial expressions, body language, and eye contact just as much as we do with words. When we're on a phone call, you're missing 70% of the communication. You cannot see if somebody is genuinely excited or just being polite. You cannot see if they're distracted or engaged. And you cannot pick up on the subtle cues that tell you somebody is struggling or frustrated or disconnected. And more importantly, you cannot build real relationships through phone calls. Think about your closest relationships in your life. They're built on face-to-face interactions where you actually see the person, read their emotions, and feel connected to them as a human being. Now, when you're only doing phone calls with your remote team, people remain strangers to each other, and that is a fact. They're just voices on the other line. There's no real human connection, no real relationship, no culture. And this is why I personally require all teams to be on video calls, not optional video where people can hide behind my camera isn't working. Everything has to be mandatory. Videos have to be mandatory. And if you're on a team call, guess what? Your camera is on. If we're on a one-on-one call, your camera is on. Yes, some people do feel uncomfortable with this at first. They're self-conscious about how they look or their background or whatever. But that discomfort is exactly what needs to be pushed through to build real culture. When everybody has their cameras on, you start to see people as humans, not just employees. You see them in their homes, and you meet their dogs perhaps that bark in the background, and you see them smile when something funny happens. You see them get emotional when sharing a win. That's when culture starts to happen. That's when people start to actually care about each other and feel connected to the team. Phone calls are efficient for quick logistics, but for anything culture related, such as team meetings, one-on-one celebrations, problem solving, the video on is being a non-negotiable variable, right? Like, it's non-negotiable, you have to put your camera on. If somebody consistently refuses to turn their camera on, that is a red flag that they're not bought into the team culture, and you need to address that directly, like I have done that before and I just fired the rep. Okay, now let's talk about morning huddles, because this is where most people get it wrong. Morning huddles can be a powerful culture building tool, but they're also not for everybody in your team. Please remember this, and there's plenty of videos about this that I've made on this channel. Because essentially this goes back from what we talked about, right, again in the previous video, where top performers, they don't need daily meetings. For newer reps, struggling performers, or people that are still ramping up into KPI, morning huddles are great. It's a chance to get aligned, to share wins, to get motivated, and to feel connected to the team before they start their day. But for your top performers who are crushing it, daily huddles, they do feel like a waste of time, and they'd rather be on calls closing deals. So here's how I personally structure it, and you can copy it if you want. Morning huddles are optional for top performers. If you want to join and contribute, great. If they'd rather get straight to work, that is fine too. Doesn't bother me as the founder, right? But for newer team members, morning huddles are expected. Not as a micromanaging thing, but as a culture and support thing. The key is what you do in these huddles. They can't just be status reports where everybody says, what I'm doing today. That's boring and pointless. And trust me, I have made the mistake in the past where morning huddles was always about pipeline reviews. We're just talking about the prospects in the pipeline. What can we do to close them? That gets boring, and yes, that can be part of your morning huddle, but it shouldn't consume the entire morning huddle, right? Good morning huddles have a couple of elements, and this is I've learned over time, right? Over the years of doing this, I've learned a couple of things that I would like to pass on to you. First, cover quick wins from yesterday, okay? Let people brag about the deals that they closed, great conversations that they have, progress that they've had. Is all conversations that can be used. Essentially what you'll see is that this creates basically a positive momentum and lets people learn from each other, okay? Second of all, challenges people are facing, bring that up. Not in a complaining way, but in a here's what I'm stuck on, has anybody dealt with this way, right? This creates a collaboration and problem-solving environment. Third of all, a quick motivational or educational piece, right? Maybe you share a sales tip, maybe you bring in a guest speaker, or maybe you do a role play on a common objection that the team has been facing, right? Something that adds value, not just fills the time, right? Fourth, and this is crucial, personal connection. Ask people about their lives outside of work. Celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, personal wins. Acknowledge that your team they're humans with lives beyond just sales numbers, right? The moment you realize that and start acting that way, it has helped and done wonders for my team specifically, which I'm just here to pass these lessons on to you specifically, right? But again, the whole meeting structure and the morning minutes, they shouldn't drag out. 15 to 20 minutes max, right? Any longer than that and you're wasting time, right? And any shorter than that, well, you're not really building a real connection, right? And remember, for your top performers, move these to weekly meetings instead of daily. Give them the autonomy that they've earned while keeping them connected to the team itself. Very, very important. You don't want to force top performers into meetings because that's going to kill their morale as well. And since we're talking about top performers, let me dive a little bit deeper into how I handle their engagement without overwhelming them with meetings. For closers who are consistently hitting or exceeding their numbers, I do weekly one-on-ones. And again, these are all video calls as well, right? Instead of daily kind of huddles. And These calls have a specific structure. First, company updates. What's changing, what's new, where we're heading. Top performers want to feel like they're in the loop and part of a bigger picture, even if they don't need daily oversight, right? Second of all, I ask them about their personal life. How's family, right? What are they working on outside of work? What is going well in their life? What isn't? Just small talk, right? And it just shows that you genuinely care about them as a human, right? Which is very, very important. Because you cannot build culture with people that you only talk to about work, right? The third topic is that I always ask them I ask them basically, what can I do to make their job easier or more efficient, right? Do they need better leads? And every salesperson is going to tell you yes. Maybe ask them, do you need help with a specific objection that you're facing? Do you need new tools, new resources, or is there anything that's creating friction in the sales process that, I might not be aware of, right? This question is crucial because top performers won't always volunteer what they need, okay? They'll just figure it out on their own. But if you ask them directly and then actually follow through on removing obstacles for them, you build massive loyalty with them. And this whole call, again, 20 to 30 minutes. And it serves multiple purposes. It keeps them connected to the company. It shows that you value them as a human being. And it ensures that they have what they need to succeed, right? And ultimately, it gives you early warning signs if something is off, right? And this is how you maintain a culture of high performers without micromanaging. Now, I think it's important that we talk about the bigger picture of team bonding when everybody works from home, because you can't force team bonding, but you can create opportunities for it to happen naturally. Here are some of the things that I have worked on or I have done that has worked for me. First, virtual team events that aren't about work. Maybe it's a virtual happy hour where you all get on Zoom and have drinks and just hang out. Maybe it's an online game tournament. Maybe it's a virtual cooking class. Not that I would ever do that, but I do a lot of the team drinking events personally. But again, the key here is creating time and space for people to interact as humans, not salespeople. These events should feel optional, right? But also encouraged, right? You have to make sure you get that balance correctly there. Now, second of all, Slack or team chat channels for non-work stuff, right? We have channels for sharing memes, workout photos, what we're cooking for dinner, whatever. It sounds silly, but these casual interactions is where culture lives, right? This is where you really connect with your team. When somebody shares a photo of their kids and everybody comments or asks questions, that's culture being built. When somebody posts something about a personal challenge, right, that the team rallies around and supports them, that's culture. Third thing that you should do, recognition and celebration done publicly. So when somebody has a big win, don't just tell them privately. Celebrate it in a team channel where everybody can see and congratulate them. Recognition is one of the most powerful culture building tools you have. And it costs you zilch, nothing, right? But it has to be genuine and specific, not generic great job messages, right? So be genuine about it. Now, fourth is transparency about company performance and challenges, okay? Your team wants to feel like they're part of something big, right? Not just cogs in a machine just doing work inside and out. Share the wins, but also share the struggles. Now, I know most business owners, they don't want to hear this, right? Most business owners want to hide the struggles, want to hide the struggles that's going on in the business, right? When you share this, you are being transparent, and transparency wins trust, okay? People will feel trusted. And when they feel trusted, they're more invested into the mission itself, okay? Now the fifth thing you can use here is invest in meeting in person when possible. Okay, I know this contradicts the whole remote thing, but if you can bring together your team maybe once or twice a year for an in-person event, the culture benefits there massively outweighs the costs, okay? Those few days of face-to-face interaction creates a bond that basically will carry you through the rest of the year working remotely, okay? Because people work harder for people they've actually met and connected with in person. Why? Because they feel like somebody actually gives a shit about them and actually cares about them. Okay? Now, let me quickly cover the mistake that I see most business owners make with remote team cultures, and I have done this in the past as well. Mistake number one, only communicating about work. If every interaction is about numbers, performance, and deadlines, you don't have a culture. You have a transaction, right? Mistake number two, allowing camera off meetings. This kills culture faster than anything will, okay? If people can hide, they will, and you'll never build a real connection. Mistake number three, treating everybody the same regardless of performers, okay? Top performers need different engagement than struggling performers. One size fits all meeting structures frustrates everybody. I promise you, I have made that mistake before. Now, mistake number four is no personal connection, right? If you don't know anything about your team members' lives outside of work, you don't have a culture, okay? Mistake number five, ignoring time zones and work-life balances. Just because everybody's remote doesn't mean they should be available 24/7. Respect boundaries or you'll create resentment. Trust me on that one as well. Now, mistake number six is basically not addressing cultural issues directly. So when somebody is toxic or disengaged, address it immediately. Bad cultures spread faster remotely because you cannot control it in an office, right? Now, this is exactly why at Sales Match, we help business owners not just on hiring the best sales talent possible and doing all of the vetting, recruiting, calling ex-employers, reviewing old sales calls, handling objection calls, and so on and so forth, but we also help them on building a team culture that lasts. Because at the end of the day, the closers and setters we often place, they are working remotely. They need to feel connected to your team and your mission, or they won't stick long term, right? And yes, if they don't stick around, we have a replacement guarantee, but that is not the point of this video, right? We will help our clients understand how to onboard remote sales team in a way that integrates them into the team culture from day one, right? And you know, we'll show them how to run video meetings, how to balance autonomy with connection, and so on and so forth, right? Now again, like I mentioned before, our guarantee is simple. If the person we place doesn't work out within 60 days, we'll replace them, no questions asked. So if you're looking to build an in-house remote sales team, that's actually what we do here at Sales Match. We actually build remote sales teams for our clients so they don't have to do the recruiting, the interviews, the resume shifting, calling ex-employers, objection handling skills. All of that stuff we take care of. So at the end of the day, if you are looking for world-class salespeople, there's a link down below for that. But other than that, I really hope this video helped you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.